Hey, I'm about to build a live invoicing parsing system right in front of you that grabs invoices from a Google Drive, uses AI to extract all the key data, stores it in a Google Sheet before sending an email to our billing team once it's done. Now, this kind of system can actually save companies hundreds of hours of processing documents. In this case, it's invoices, which they can now devote to actually growing the business. So today I'm going to build a whole system from scratch using a platform called n8n. I'm going to show you all the mistakes, all the detours I make, that you get to see what an actual development process for a real client project actually looks like. And if you stick around until the end, I'll even show you how you can get the whole system for free. With that being said, let's dive in. All right, so this right here is the n8n workflow that we're going to work with. We start with Google Drive. So in this case, I go to my Google Drive. I drop in an invoice that I have, one of the hundreds that I have right now. I go to the invoice. I can see that I have different fields in the invoice: company name, address, email, line item, price, currency, payment method, invoice number, date, and status, right? So these are different fields that I have within the invoice. If I go here to the first Google Drive, I'm here in execute the workflow. What this will do is it will take the invoice that we just gave it. It will then extract the text from the invoice. It will give it to an AI, which will extract the different variables that we need from the invoice, like client name, address, all that sort of stuff. It adds it to a Google Sheet database. It then drops an AI, so it drops an email using AI and then sends it to us as well. If I go to my Google Sheet database, I can see that now the invoice was parsed. So the different variables have been extracted. If I go to my email right here, I can see that I got an email saying, "Dear billing team, you have received a new invoice," and it gives in the different details. And it says the system has added the fields in the Google Sheet database, which you can also view here. If I go here, it takes me to the Google Sheet database with all the line items there. All right, so that right there is for the system we're gonna build from scratch. Again, I'm gonna start from zero, completely zero. So I'm gonna show you the whole development process. Let me go to a new workflow right here. We can start from scratch. But the first thing we have to do is actually map out the process of the automation on a platform called Miro. You can use any other platform for this. But I like using Miro because it is very, very easy. All right, so the first part, or the thought process here is we have a bunch of invoices. Then we have to, so let's do invoices. Then we have to basically extract the text or extract different variables. Extract variables from invoice. And by variables, we mean client name, client address, all that sort of stuff. And then we want to add it to a database. When someone says database, they just mean a Google Sheet, an Airtable, Notion, ClickUp, whatever it is. And then after we add to the database, we want to send an email. So send email to billing team, confirming invoice. All right. I mean, it is a 4-step process. As you saw, it was more than 4 steps just because of the way we had it set up. But this is fundamentally what it is that we're doing, right? We're watching new invoices from somewhere. We're extracting the variables. So we're saying, hey, okay, what is the client name? What is the client address? What is the price? What is the currency? All that sort of stuff. And then we're adding it to a database. And then we're sending the billing team, we're sending an email to the billing team confirming the invoice. Now, typically when I do something like this, I'll think through how to structure it. So the first step is invoices. As you saw, we use the Google Drive because that is the easiest to get started with. So we can say watch invoices from Google Drive. And what this could look like is we run the automation maybe once a day or once a minute, every minute, every hour or every week. And we watch new invoices that have been added so that it's a continuous thing. And that's always good because we don't want to have a system where there has to be a manual step of running the automation every single time. We want it to be automatic so that they can just drop invoices, and every so often it takes the invoices and then does the whole process. Then extract the variables from the invoice, adds it to a database. In this case, Google Sheet. Add variables to Google Sheet, and then send the email to the billing team confirming the invoice. All right, so the first step is Google Drive. So the first step is always the trigger. So what is the thing that actually starts the automation? In this case, every new client or every new file that has been added, every new invoice that has been added, every so often will be the thing that starts the automation. So if I go to Google Drive and I go to on changes to a specific folder, because we're adding invoices to a folder, I can see that the change that we want to make is actually when a file has been created, when a file has been added. So the first thing we have to do is go here, create a new credential, and you have to connect your Google Drive to n8n. Now, I'm not going to dive into this whole process right now, but I actually made a full step-by-step video on how you can do it within less than 5 minutes. You can check it out on the screen right now. But once you connect to your Google Drive, you'll have a connection right here, which is good. The poll times just means how many times or how often do you want to run the Google Drive. In this case, it can be every minute. Then the trigger on just means what do you want the trigger to be? Do you want it to be just changes involving a specific folder, every file? In this case, it'll be a folder because we need a folder to include the invoices in. And then we have to make a folder. So let's go to Google Drive. I can go here. I can make a new folder. I can call it invoices test. YouTube, create. And now this created a folder, which I can find here. Now this is a place where we're going to store all the invoices to be processed every so often. Okay, cool. So now, obviously make sure that your connection is correct. In this case, it actually should be James Solutions, not Michele Connection. That's a different account. And the folder in this case is Invoices Test YouTube. So Invoices Test YouTube. Okay, and then it says, what are we watching for? In this case, I'm watching for a file to be created, updated, created, folder updated, watch folder updated. Well, in this case, we want to do when a folder is created within a folder. So when a file is created within a folder. So in this case, it'll be when a file is created in the watched folder, which is this folder right here. So let me go here, we do file created. So now this watches every new file that has been added. So let's try it out. Let's test, because part of automation is testing. I'm going to have an invoice that I have right now, so that you can drop your invoices here. And I'm going to test if, now that I added here, if I execute workflow, so in this case, if I fetch test event, file created, will this catch the invoice that has been added? Well, in this case, yes. So this is the output. If I scroll all the way down, I can actually find the link, which is the web view link of the invoice that has been added, which is correct, which is the same one that has been added here, because it basically caught all the files from there that has been added. It's only one. All right, perfect. So we know it works. So the first step is done. Right here is finished. So we watched invoices from Google Drive. That's good. Now, the next step is to extract text from a file. So let me go here, extract from file, extract from PDF, because the invoices itself are on PDF version. So it depends what kind of PDF or what kind of file you have. Now here it says extract from PDF, which is a thing that we have to do because that's the action that we're doing. But then it says the input. So the thing that's going in to this node right here, which extract text from PDFs, has to be in form of binary. Now, in order for us to get the file to be added here, we have to do an additional step, which is actually downloading the file to then be adding it to the to this node right here, because it only likes binary format, and the only way to get binary format is to download the file. So if I go here to Google Drive, I can now download a file. Press this button right here. Make sure you have the right connection. File download, that's fine. And now we want to actually do it by the ID, because if you do it by the list, then you only have access to one file. And we don't want to keep downloading the same file. We want to change the file that we're downloading. So the file itself will have an ID that's unique. So if we map the ID, if we put the ID that's different every single time, it will download every single file differently, which is exactly what we need. If I go here, I can put ID. So I can find the ID. And now the ID will actually be here. It usually starts with one Y. You can see here, ID. One Y, whatever. So this will be the one that we map, that we add here to be able to download it. Now, if I just execute this step, I can now see that I got binary format data, which is a thing that we need in order to add it to the next step. And this is the data we got, okay? So you always need that additional step when you're actually doing something with Google Drive folder. It's usually downloading it and then turning it into a binary format when you have to do something with it. Now, in this case, the input binary format field is fine, data, because this is equal to data. So that's fine. We can execute the step. We're actually testing. As you can see here, there's a lot of fields. The one we really care about is text right here, which gives me the company name, invoice number, customer name, date, company name, all that sort of stuff that we need in order to actually split it up and add it to the Google Sheet. So the next step is actually extracting the variables within the text, because there's a block of text. How do we split it up so we get the customer ID, the customer name, the email, the address, all that sort of stuff that we actually need in order to add it to the Google Sheet? Well, in this case, you can press plus. We have to go to information extractor. Now, what this does is it receives text to the actual thing. It then thinks through what the text is about. And then based on the descriptions of the line items or variables that we tell it to give us, it will then split up the text. So it gives us the customer name, the address, the invoice ID, all that sort of stuff that we need. Okay, so the text here will be the text from the previous step. So I can put it across right here. And again, you can also see the result, which is something that n8n actually does really well. You can see the output before you can test. The schema type will be from attribute descriptions. Don't worry about this. You can leave it as it is. And now we have to add attributes. So attributes just means what is that thing that we want to extract from the text. In this case, there's a few things. So if I go here and I look at the invoice, again, this will be different for sort of every company. It's sort of similar. You still have the price, the invoice number, all that sort of stuff. But sometimes we do have something called statuses or payment methods that we want to account for. So in this case, it will be customer name. So we can do customer name. This is the name of the customer. So right here is asking us what type of output is it? Is it a string? Is it a Boolean, which is true or false? Is it a date? Is it a number? In this case, a string is just text, like the normal version. So leave it as it is. And then description is us giving it a description. So it actually helps it in thinking what is the customer name, and so on. And then we can put it required. So it needs to give us the output. Then we have from here, company name, address, and email. So company name. This is the name of the company. Required. Email. This is the email of the customer. Address as well. So address. This is the address of the customer. Right. Then we have invoice number, date, and status. Invoice number, date, status. Invoice number is, this is the number of the invoice required. Now this right here for date, we can actually turn it into a date format. We say this is the date of the invoice required. And then status will be, this is the status of the payment required. And then we have line items. So line items, this is like the description of the payment, the price and payment method. Price and payment method. Line item. This is the line item of the invoice. Price, the total amount. This is total amount of the invoice, and then payment method. This is the payment method of the invoice. All right, so I just finished filling out all the forms, all the details in the actual invoice. We have customer name, we have a company name, we have email, we have address, we have invoice number, we have date. And again, we turn this to date because it is a date format. Status, line item, total amount, payment method, and so on. Okay. All right. Now what we have to do here is we have to do two things. The first thing is to give it a system prompt template. In this case, it's you are an expert extraction algorithm. They only extract relevant information from the text. If you do not know the value of an attribution asked to extract, you may omit the attribute's value. I think this is pretty good. I think we don't need to give it any more context. Now, one more thing we have to do, because this is not run on its own, this runs through AI. So we have to connect a model to it. So if I press here, I have a list of models that I can choose. In this case, I'm choosing OpenAI, chat model. And I will come to this page. The way to connect your OpenAI to n8n, you can go here, create a new credential. You can go to platform to OpenAI because you have to get an API key. Dashboard, API key, create a new secret key, name it. So you can do invoice system, create a secret key. You can copy this, go back, paste it here, and then name this whatever it is. So 5th September, connection, save it. And now you will have your OpenAI connected to n8n. Bear in mind that this is not free, as in you still have to pay for this in a sense. So you go to your profile and you go to billing, you have to add $5 because we're using API credits, and API credits cost money, but is very, very minimal. As in, I think I used $5 in 6 months, and I was using it quite a bit. So obviously it depends what you use it for as well, but it's relatively cheap. So you can add $5 and you'll have that last you for a while. All right, so now that we have that, the model can be 4.1 mini. It's good quality and good speed. We can actually extract this. So let me run this. This uses the previous steps to test only this step. If I go here, I can see that I extract the customer name, the company name, the email, the address, the invoice number, date, status, line item, total amount, and payment method, which is amazing, which is exactly what we need. Perfect. All right, the next step, so we did this, done. The next step is actually to add it to the sheet. So if I go here, I actually made the sheet. So the variables that I have, let me just fill this out so you can see. Go right here. I have invoice number, client name, client email, address, description, total amount, invoice date, status, and payment method. Now this is right here is just a way for us to actually store the invoice because there has to be some place for us to store all the information. Typically a company, they probably wouldn't have Google Sheets. They would have maybe a Notion, maybe some sort of custom software they have, but they always have a database, right? They always have a place where they actually have to store information. So this is what we're going to use. Let's name this invoice system, n8n YouTube. And now if I go back here to here, I have to add a next step, which is add the invoice to the Google Sheet. So if I go here, I can go to Action and App, Sheet, Google Sheets, and then I can append a row in a sheet, which means add a row. Connect your account. All you have to do is create a new credential. You don't have to do the same thing you did for Google Drive. You can just sign in with Google, which will take you to a page like this. Choose your account, continue, and then it's successful. And you go back and name it whatever you want. Press save. All right, now that you connected your Google Sheets, it is going to be a sheet within a document. You want to append a row because operation, again, is a thing that you're actually doing. And then we want to look for invoice system and YouTube, which is the first one that comes up. The sheet will be sheet 1 because, again, this right here is sheet 1. And now we want to be able to map the fields. So mapping just means that you have different columns. You want to add the variables for each column to make sure that when we run the automation, they actually show up. So it will be invoice number, which is invoice number, client name, so customer name, client email, so email, address, description, and in this case is line item, total amount is this, invoice date is here, status is here, payment method is right here. I believe that's it. Do we have to do anything else? No, that's all good. Okay, so let's test this. Let me execute step. Now it's running. If I go here, I can see that the first run did well. We have the line items. We have invoice 109, Lucas Martin, the email, address, description, total amount, invoice date, status, and payment method. Let me just freeze this row right here. So when I go here, it doesn't actually take it with it. And the next step is finished. So this can go green. And you see how I'm just checking things off as I actually do this because it is a whole process. I'm planning it out. And now the last one is to send an email to the billing team confirming the invoice. So the next step is using AI because to send an email to the billing team, you typically want to use AI, depending on the email, of course. But in this case, we want to let AI actually do the email and we just set up the Gmail after. So let's add plus. Let's do AI. Let's look for an OpenAI node, which just means, hey, we're talking to a GPT, like, can we do this? And it gives us the output. We are messaging a model. Again, the way to connect to your OpenAI, I showed it before. Go to get the API key, and it's the same exact connection. If you connected it before, you'll have it here. The resource is text, operation is message the model, because that's the action that we're doing. The model will be, let's do 4.1 mini. I think that's more than good. That's fine. And the prompt is going to be first a system, right? And then we're going to have a user prompt. So the system prompt, I'm going to copy it from the other automation and go here. Will be, you are an email expert for JM Media named Jenny. You will receive invoice information. Your job is to notify the internal billing team that an invoice was received or sent. In the email, make sure that to include the system that has been added to the fields. So we say, okay, so in the actual email itself, we want to give them this right here. So anyone with the link, copy the link. We want to give them access to the Google Sheet because I want them to actually have access to it if they want to look at it. They get a notification saying, hey, everything's good. By the way, if you want to look into this further, you can obviously look at it in the Google Sheet. Your output should be in the following JSON format. So we tell it this because when we want to make an email, the email is composed of two different things. It's composed of a subject line and it's composed of a email body. In this case, because they're both custom, we want them to split into two different variables. So that's why we use JSON to then split the email body and the subject line. And the rules is don't use any markdown formatting because Gmail does not like any markdown. It doesn't actually recognize it. And then it actually recognizes HTML, which I'll speak about in just a second what it is. So we tell it that. We say, hey, talk in the way that Gmail actually likes that you're talking to. And that's fine. Now the user prompt is going to be this. The user prompt is going to be the variables. So in this case, we need to add all the different variables. So it can be invoice number. I'm going to cut to me actually finishing this because it's going to take a while. All right, so we have invoice number, client name, email, total amount, and invoice date. Now we can map this. So invoice number right here, client name right here, email, total amount, and invoice date. Yeah, let me do status as well. And we can also add payment method at this point. Cool. All right, so that is the input that we give it. So we say, hey, you would do X, Y, Z. And here's the input that you have to do this thing for, and just give me both the emails, okay? Now, one more thing we have to do here is actually turning this on, the output content as JSON, because we actually tell the AI, give me JSON. So we wanted to actually officially say, hey, the output should be JSON, yes or yes. And we don't want it to error out. So that's good. Now let's execute the step, which is basically testing. It will use the previous variables. Now it will give us the email. So the email is all in a weird format. This is the format that Gmail likes when you give emails. So don't worry about this too much, but worry about the fact that you got the subject line right here and you got the email body as two different variables right here that we can then use to actually send the email. So if I go here, I'm done with the AI part, which is, well, I mean, I guess it's part of this. I can go to Gmail, send a message. To connect your Gmail to n8n, you can go here, sign in with Google, and then you can go through the same process that you went through Google Sheets. Close. And there's three things that we have to fill out. The first one is message or resource is a message. Operation, which is what are we doing? We're sending the message. Who are we sending the email to? In this case, let's do my email. The subject line will be the one here. So we just drag it across. And we can see even the output before we even test, which is again amazing. And then the message itself, or the email type in this case, which is where we add HTML, we have two options. So we say, okay, we're sending the email to someone. How do we want to send it to them? Do you want to just text or do you want to put HTML? HTML is just a way that you make your emails look pretty. You know, when you guys get emails that look nice, that have formatting, that have headers, that have all that stuff, that is because you're using HTML. So we kind of want to do that, which is why we use HTML. And that's what we tell the AI to output it as HTML, which is good. So the message in this case would be the email body, which is the one here. We just drag it across. And one thing more that we have to do is we want to take this out. So append n8n attribution, which is basically a way for n8n to market themselves in a way. So when you send an email to someone, if you don't turn this off, it will say this was sent by n8n. So we take this off just because it's more, I guess, professional, more clean. It looks like it actually came from a real person, even though we all know it's not, especially when you're doing 100 invoices a day, but that's fine. Now we get it to execute the steps. So we're testing this. And if I go to my email, I can see now, if I refresh, that I got an email with all the details, right? And this is how we managed to make these look nice, bolds, and actually even have a sort of an embedded link that we can just press here and it will take us to the sheet that we have. All right, so now let's test it from scratch with another invoice from 0. Let me go to my Google Drive. Let me delete this. Not delete this, actually I can just send a new one. In the new one, let's do a random one here. Let me see what the name of the person is. Isabella Moore. And now if I go here to n8n, I can run this. Now this will do is it will take the file that has been created. It will extract the text. It will then go here to the information extractor. It will add it to the Google Sheet. It will then think through AI to make the email that will be sent to us on Gmail, and we'll have everything there. If I go here, I can see that I have Isabella Moore with the email, with the address, with the description, with the total amount, with the invoice date, status, and payment method. If I go to my email as well, I can see that now I also have a notification. Dear billing team, we have received the invoice from Isabella Moore, and we have all the different things that we have here. Jenny, with no n8n attribution, with no, hey, this was sent by n8n. And now I also have a link right here, which takes me again to the Google Sheet with all the information here. All right, so this marks the end for today's build. In case you want the full template right here with all the prompts and the different variables that I set up for you, so you don't have to build it yourself, make sure to check out the first link down below, which will take you to my free school community. And you can go to the custom section, you can go to the templates vault, then you can go to the most recent video, which will have a link right here to download an n8n automation blueprint. In case you have no idea how to set it up, no worries at all. If you go here to the welcome section, you can go to the import blueprint to n8n, and this will give you a whole roadmap on how to set the blueprint up to your account. And also, if you join, you can also have access to the community full of ambitious people who are sharing their wins every day, their losses, and actually sharing their journey as they're building and selling automations to people. The catch is we're not letting everyone in. As you can see, we have a waitlist of about 185 people, and it is growing every single day. So if you want to apply, then make sure to check out the first link down below. All right, I hope you found value from this video. And if you like this type of format where I build automations step by step and think you through my whole process, then make sure to check out this video right here, where I build a human-in-the-loop AI sales agent from scratch using n8n. With that being said, I'll see you in the next one.